I want to quickly share with you the latest hacks we have actually uncovered when it comes to Navy Fed personal loan. And these hacks are pretty cool because it doesn't really matter whether you have a fair credit, poor credit, bad credit, doesn't really matter. You can still get the loan. So here is the overview I really want you to pay attention to. So whenever you are actually applying for a Navy Fed personal loan, make sure that you pay attention to your proof of income. They are really scrutinizing this like crazy. And I'm not talking about if you have a regular job like a 9 to 5 and you have direct deposit, that's good. So direct deposit is really good, and direct deposit into a Navy Fed account, right? It could be partial, it could be the full amount, but that's really good. But if you don't have direct deposit, then you have to prove income like, any other way. So this could be either just having a bank statement or a paycheck or maybe a W-2 or whatnot. It's important. And for the last 3 months, we have found out that Navy Fed has been scrutinizing a lot the paychecks. They've been looking at so they look at if you apply for a loan, the first thing they'll look at, of course, they'll look at your FICO score. They'll look at your internal score, but they'll look at the ratio between your income and the loan that you are applying for. That's called so they'll look at your DTI, and they'll pay attention to whether or not you have enough cash, enough disposable cash to actually pay the loan that you are applying for. So they pay attention a lot to income. Okay, at least lately they've been paying a lot of attention to it. Okay, they also look at your household composition. In other words, if you're married, for instance, they'll pay attention to how much your wife or your husband is making. So it's not just about, hey, listen, it doesn't matter whether you're applying for, whether you're co-signing the loan or you're just applying by yourself. Doesn't matter, because they are looking at the household financial composition to make sure that, hey, listen, like if you're applying for a loan, right, and they see that your spouse is not applying, but his or her credit score is kind of low, this could lead to a denial. Okay, this is something we have been seeing for the last 3 months, 4 months, and they've been doing it all over the country. Okay, by the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We just have to, I'll quickly go through the hacks that we have uncovered lately when it comes to Navy Fed personal loan, how to get approved no matter what. Of course, you need to still have you got to have your tax returns for the last 2-3 years. Okay, they'll look at they'll need to have your forms of identification, and it's really important to make sure that if you have they have something called geographic stability. If you stay at an address for a while, that's really seen very favorably. All right. Now, let me just kind of get into the nitty-gritty here. When we talk about Navy Fed, one thing they really are paying attention right now, if you want to get a loan, make sure that you actually run the numbers. Make sure that you are comfortable with the amount that you are applying for. Because in the past, Navy Fed used to actually look at your internal score. They used to look at your DTI. They used to look at your CUR. Lately, they've been really scrutinizing that, because they realized that even if you have a high FICO score, let's say you have a FICO score of 750, but your DTI is kind of high, that's really a problem, right? Because it means that you're not going to have enough bandwidth in your budget, enough room in your budget to repay whatever loan you're taking from Navy Fed. Okay, and this is one of the things that we have found. I think what's happening here is that Navy Fed is just trying to make sure that they actually reduce, they really mitigate risk, credit risk or default risk a lot more. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's conversation. The topic we are discussing in today's conversation is the latest hacks to get a Navy Fed personal loan real fast, no matter your credit score. So you have to run the numbers. Make sure the numbers really make sense. For instance, if you're making 50 grand a year, and that's gross, and you probably making 35 grand net, that's about 3,000 a month. Make sure you're not applying for a loan whereby you have to make 1,000 payments, because this will not be realistic, right? 1/3 of your salary is going to a loan, boss. No. If you could probably apply for a loan around 500, around 750. Okay, so this is what I mean by you have to run the numbers. Okay. The second thing I want you to do right now is to really start checking your credit score. See, the thing is that if you have a Navy Fed credit card, they provide your credit score with your credit card statement every now and then, right? But we all know that Navy Fed pulls TransUnion. It's very important that you yourself have other sources of verifying your credit score. And I'm not talking about you actually looking for your credit score every now and then, No, there has to be some kind of periodicity, some frequency. It has to be, you have to be consistent. You have to be committed. Okay. So check your credit score before applying for your Navy Fed, for your next Navy Fed personal loan, and check all three bureaus. Okay. Don't just say, yeah, I know they are going to pull a TransUnion anyway. So I'm not caring about Experian and Equifax. This will be a mistake, a big mistake, boss. The next thing I want you to really do here, if you are trying to have a Navy Fed personal loan right now, make sure that you consider, you have to look at all your options. See, the cool thing is that Navy Fed gives you a lot of options, okay? In some cases, they will actually even allow you to be pre-approved. Now, the loan pre-approval program is not actually happening at the national level. Unlike FedEx, unlike PenFed, where you have the loan pre-qual feature available nationally. Navy Fed is running this program in certain geographies. So what will happen here is that if you are in a geography that really where they're running the program, the pre-qual program, you will see this when you log into your account, or when you actually log into the app, you will see something that says, okay, pre-qual for a personal loan. If you see that table, if you see that button, do me a favor. I want you to really click on it. Okay. And so the pre-qual is the first option I want you to consider. The second option I want you to consider here is to kind of beef up your personal loan application. Try to really see if you could co-borrow the loan, or to get a co-signer, right? Because the whole thing here is that who cares about, who cares? I mean, I do care. You care. I mean, what I was about to say here is that if you get approved with the help of a family member, that's fine. That's what you care about anyway, right? So if you have a spouse, if you are in good terms with a family member, you have an aunt, you have an uncle, or you have a granddad or grandfather, anybody who can help you out, think about it. So that's the second option. First option, pre-qual. Second option, co-signing. Third option, you want to lower the loan amount. Lower the loan amount. Okay, make sure the loan amount is not really high compared to your budget, compared to, as I said before, what I was calling before, the monetary bandwidth. The kind of room you have in your budget, so that you can actually take on an additional loan, and this will not create any sort of havoc in your budget, right? So you got to really think about it. This is really important. And one thing I also want to say here is that when we talk about considering your options, please always talk to someone at the nearest Navy Fed branch. If you are lucky enough to live in the vicinity of a Navy Fed branch, please, I want you to take your ass to the branch, sit down, and have a conversation. Ask them, what are their options? What are your options? Okay, do they offer pre-qual at the branch? The next thing I want you to do that we have found that really works. Again, I'm just having a conversation with you in terms of the latest hacks to get a Navy Fed personal loan approved real fast. Real fast. And it doesn't matter. The hacks I'm talking to you about, it doesn't matter whether you have bad credit, whether you have a FICO score of 579 or lower, or you have something between 579 and 680, a fair credit or a good credit. It doesn't really matter. Okay. I want you to really choose your loan type. The whole thing here is that Navy Fed actually has, they have the personal loan. That's how they advertise the whole thing. Personal loan, you can get whatever. But there are actually, you have to specify what you are going to do with the loan. Okay, you can get a loan for debt consolidation. In that case, they will give you a debt consolidation loan. You can say, I'm looking for a loan to refinance my credit card. So in that case, we'll call it a credit card refinancing loan. Or you are looking for a loan to improve whatever is going on, to improve a certain fixtures in the house. In that case, we have a home improvement loan. Or you having a medical emergency, God forbid. But hey, listen, it is what it is. If you are looking for a loan of that nature, this will be a medical loan. Or you're just looking for a plain, simple emergency loan. Let's talk about that, right? So it's one of those things where you are basic, or you know what? Maybe you even looking for a wedding loan. What I'm trying to say here is that Navy Fed is advertising their loan as a generic loan. But when you start applying, they'll ask you, what do you need the loan for? And when you tell them what you need the loan for, then they will actually label the loan that way. In other words, they will structure the loan that way. Let me give you an example. If you are looking for a medical loan, God forbid, something happens in the family, a relative, and you got a loan, right? And it's like you have some kind of your family member underwent some kind of a procedure, right? It will take years to heal. They will be looking at this loan differently from like if you were asking for an emergency loan, for instance. So this is the kind of stuff I really want you to think about, because that's how they think at Navy Fed. Okay, so be very careful about your loan type. And this is why I was just talking to you earlier about just go to the branch. Bring your ass to the branch, have a conversation at the branch, and things are clear. Things will be clear to you at the branch. Okay, and this is what you want anyway. Another hack that I really want to share with you in today's conversation when it comes to Navy Fed personal loan. Again, I'm just sharing with you the latest hacks we have seen in our research. And those are like, we have insider tips. We ourselves, our team members are Navy Fed members. So we really see what's happening here. And the thing what we've seen here is that you got to shop around for the best personal loan. So best personal loan rates, for instance. So what happens here? What happens here is that you can actually tell Navy Fed, hey, listen, I'm interested in having a loan. All right, the information is there. Okay, what you do here is that you actually manifest your interest in having a loan, but do not apply. So there's no hard pull, right? What you do is you kind of like stay put. And in the meantime, you do research. You do research. You can probably go online. You can go like those loan evaluation websites, such as Lending Club, right? Such as NAV, such as Nerd Wallet. So you have those websites. What you do here is that you see if you can pre-qualify for a loan. And what you do here is if you pre-qualify for a loan, you print that out. You print the pre-qual sort of notice or approval notice, whatever, and you go to the nearest branch, Navy Fed, and you show them. So basically, you're saying, listen, I got pre-approved for this loan at 8%, 35 grand. But I love Navy Fed. I want to get a loan from Navy Fed. Could y'all help me out? So you actually put in the info there, right? So you are telling them, hey, listen, I found better offers, but I think that you guys can really help me out here. So what you're doing, this is just a negotiation. This is a transactional conversation you're having. So the thing is, if you have a great relationship with Navy Fed, they'll take care of you. Because they don't want to lose your business. Think about it, right? Because I mean, they've got you for a while. I mean, they've had you for a while as a client, and they love having a business from you. So they'll probably just they'll come with a counter offer, and maybe that counter offer will be really good. So the point I'm trying to make here is that you want to shop around for the best personal loan rates and actually present that to Navy Fed, okay? And if they don't really do anything, just with a little bit more before applying with another lender, because your goal is not to apply with another lender. Your goal is to very gently muscle Navy Fed into the loan approval process so that they can actually take care of you. But hey, listen, if they say, listen, we don't really want to go there, whatever, you can't force them either, right? You can't force them. So at that point, you have to really make a decision there. The next thing I want you to do here when it comes to Navy Fed personal loan, again, I'm sharing with you the latest hacks we have found, is that they start paying attention to the documentation. Oh boy. They really start scrutinizing the same way they scrutinize the income. They start looking at all documents. Like if they ask you, hey, listen, we want you to show us show us our 1099. I mean, your 1099 or your pay stub or your W-2 or your income tax return for the last three years or your bank statement. They really scrutinize everything. In the past, they used to scrutinize stuff, but now they're just scrutinizing like crazy. Like they're really paying attention. Like if numbers don't match, you're in trouble, boy. You're in trouble, girl. Because they'll be asking you, they'll be asking questions, probing you like crazy. And they started doing this like on the East Coast. We've heard about it on the West Coast also like last month. So those are things that really are trying to they're really paying attention to. And one thing I also want to say here is that if you are lucky to get approved for the loan, just make sure that you read everything. Okay, read everything. I know this legalese is kind of like the legal lingo is a little crazy. Nobody wants to read the fine prints, whatever. But you want to have at least understand the key points that you have in the loan agreement. Stuff like APR, right? Stuff like stuff like the regular, like if there are any charges too. Okay, so this is really important to really pay attention to. One thing I also need to say in terms of the documentation, please be prepared to present additional documentation as requested during the application process, because sometimes they might actually like want to, especially if you have a co-borrowing situation where you are applying in tandem with somebody else. They tend to actually ask a lot of questions, especially if you don't file a joint return. Like you are co-borrowing, but you're not related, or you're not husband and wife. So if you don't file a joint return, then this could be a little, not complicated, but it is actually raises eyebrows when it comes to Navy Fed underwriters. They really are paying attention to everything now. Like I told you, they're just really trying to cover their ass like big time, more than they used to do do in the past. So here is a bonus for you. I want to quickly just share with you a few tips that we have actually found that is the few tips that are working fantastically when it comes to speeding up the loan approval process for your Navy Fed personal loan. Okay, so if you are thinking about getting a Navy Fed personal loan right now, the first thing I want you to do here, if you want to speed up the process, like if you want to get the loan approved within 24 to 48 hours, because usually it takes 3 days, unless you are in a geography where the nearest branch is not too busy. If their backlog is kind of light, then if their quote unquote docket is kind of light, then you might get the loan real fast. But usually 3 to 7 days. So if you want to speed up the process, make sure you check your credit report before applying. That way you know if there is any problematic entry or anything that could delay the whole process. You could fix it right then and there, right? If you have to talk to Experian, talk to TransUnion, talk to Equifax, they know right away, hey, listen, we have a problem. You file automatically and reflexively a dispute letter, so you can fix the problem. You can fix whatever problem, whatever derogatory item that you have on your credit report before you even apply for the Navy Fed personal loan, okay? And one thing I also wanted to tell you, we have found also that works fantastically, is that if you have a low DTR, this will also help you. A low DTR means what? It means you're just paying down your debt, right? So you actually lowering either you increase your salary, which is much more complicated to do than actually pay your debt, right? Because the DTI is just a fraction. So you have your debt as the numerator, and you have your income as the denominator, right? So if you have just pure math. So if you want to decrease your this fraction, you have to either decrease the numerator at the top or increase the denominator, okay? And also make sure that you always see if you can pre-qualify. Okay, this really helps a lot. We have seen this over and over and over, and it really helps a lot. And you know what? If it doesn't work, again, just last thing you have to do here is to consider online lenders. I'm talking about the Avant of the world, the Upgrade, the Upstart, because maybe you're just not lucky. I mean, you're just not lucky this time, because 3 months from now, 6 months from now, maybe you could be happy. You could be lucky. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I'll just share with you the latest hacks we have actually found when it comes to getting approved real fast with when it comes to a Navy Fed personal loan. And so I share with you some of the things you have to do, like the steps you have to follow, running the numbers, checking your credit score, considering your options, choosing your loan type. This is important, right? You want to shop around just to make sure that you have a proposal that Navy Fed can counter offer to, because you are trying to really sort of negotiate with them. And And certain tips also, I share with you certain tips when it comes to speeding up the loan approval process at NavyFed. Thank you. I'll see you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.